Nation, welcome back to another episode of Tuffy Talk here, where we are previewing the NC State side of the ACC tournament bracket here in 2023. On episode 1, we talked about the whole tournament, where we talked about each matchup, what we think may or may not happen. We talked a little bit about voting at the end of the year for ACC accolades, and we also talked about how some of these matchups and what we think may or may not happen will impact the NCAA tournament. So be sure to go over and check out that episode 1. But here in episode 2, we are talking about NC State and what we think they're going to do in the tournament, their draw they got in the ACC tournament. And NC State this year, has earned a 6th seed in the ACC tournament. And playing in Greensboro, it's going to be a big opportunity for NC State to make some noise. I think they can, but personally, when I look at this side of our bracket, I don't really know how I feel about it because for a few reasons. I think Virginia Tech is probably, in my opinion, the most dangerous team from the Tuesday games. If not them, it's Florida State. And then, if you were to win that game, you play Clemson, who's swept you in 2 games. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on NC State's 6th seed, Michael, how they finished the season, what they got in the ACC tournament? This side of the bracket.
Yeah. Glad we finished above UNC. That's always nice. Yeah. But, honestly, that 7 seed really, besides also the fact that the 7 seed gets the 7 o'clock game instead of the 9:30 game, that's another little nicer thing.
Yeah.
But 7 seed probably has the easier path.
You think so? You think playing Virginia is the easier path?
For the first round, I think playing the winner of Boston College Louisville is easier than playing the winner of Virginia Tech Notre Dame.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, but the other thing with that is, that's a bigger, a worse opportunity for a bad loss if you were to lose that first round game. Like if we lose to Virginia Tech on a neutral court, that's not going to be considered a bad loss.
I think some people will think that, though. I think they would think that, yeah. But I think for people who actually know the ACC and realize some context there, we talked earlier, Hunter Couture was out, a good portion of the season for Virginia Tech, and, I think he's their best player. So,
yeah.
Go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. From an outside perspective, it could be seen as a bad loss, but Virginia Tech's still top 70 net.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think we would get hurt as bad for NCAA tournament hopes, but like if you lose to Boston College or, God forbid, Louisville, man, that would be devastating.
I don't know how they would even. I don't know how long he's only. I think it's his only season. I honestly don't even know his name.
Yeah, it's his first year.
His name? I don't know.
Kenny Payne.
Where did he come from? Was he an assistant?
He's been all over the place. I think he's an alumni. I think he may have been an assistant.
It's bad over there, man.
Yeah.
So we mentioned in our preview for episode 1, we think Virginia Tech's going to beat Notre Dame, and we also made a note just as a side thing for those who follow the ACC, and probably I don't think it's a national note. It might be Mike Bray's last game. I don't think Notre Dame's it would be their last game. They're not a tournament team, and I don't think they're an NIT team. So that'd be the last game you see Mike Bray coaching Notre Dame after 20-ish years, 21 years, right there.
A long time.
Yeah. So we think it's a Virginia Tech versus NC State at 9:30 on ESPN2 or ESPNU in Greensboro. So what do you think about that matchup there, Michael?
So we controlled a lot of that game when we played them in Blacksburg.
Yep.
They did make a run late, and I think we only ended up winning by 4 or 6. But we were up 10 to 15 points the whole game. Of course, that was without Couture.
Right.
Yeah. So I do expect it to be a little closer. I think it comes down to how Terquavion does, because the last 5 or 6 games he's just been knocked. He's struggled. If he doesn't have to play spectacular. If he can just get back up to playing his average, 17 to 20 points a game, 3 or 4 assists, get a couple steals, take good shots, improve that, shoot within the flow of the offense better.
Yeah.
He just has to be average because his average is better than most players,
Right.
like peak. So I think that will be the key, not only for this game, but for the whole tournament and the whole postseason for NC State.
Yeah, and I know we talked about earlier about we think NC State goes as far as jarkel goes, but I think I'm actually coming back around to it. I think we might actually go as far as terquavion goes because jarkel is really dominant. Jarkel is probably the stronger there, but like if those two are both on, if you're getting at least 15 from each one of those guys, I think State's really tough to beat. And let's say you get at least 10 from DJ. I think State's really tough to beat. And
I'd say even more because, over the whole season, Burns is only averaging like 12 or 13, but he didn't play much the first half of the year. So, like, since Duson's been out, I think he's been averaging close to like 16 points a game.
Yeah.
So
I think another part I think too was Jack Clark out that game against Virginia Tech?
Yes, because that was right after Duke.
So we're talking about a little bit of you got their best player, one of your starters also out. So I kind of think that kind of makes up a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah, it does.
Especially
because you probably will.
I think he might be guarding Couture.
Yeah,
he might be guarding Couture.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's huge that he did not get hurt on that dunk against. Who are they playing? Was it? State played.
That was the game before Clemson.
Oh my god.
Against Wake.
That's right.
No, it was the game before Wake because then Clark missed Clemson, which definitely hurt us.
So he was Wake. You're saying I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was Wake.
So then, getting Clark back is huge, and obviously him playing that game against Duke was big. Even though I say he didn't win that game, but he's back in that regard, and it just needs.
And I think he's got to be back in the starting lineup because Gant's been starting recently, but at this point, I think you got to play your best five from the beginning.
Joyner,
and get
Smith,
them to play
Morcell, Clark, and Burns. And that's what's going to be.
They have to play as many minutes as possible. You just have to. I mean, that's our best lineup. Gant and Ross can give you something off the bench, but you don't want them in there for extended minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess going back to the matchup here, then.
Yeah.
You going to NC State? I think State can win this game
over Virginia Tech. Yeah. Like you said, I think them having Couture back, us having Jack Clark back, I think that kind of cancels each other out on a neutral court, which, being in Greensboro, will be heavily Wolfpack fans.
And Blacksburg's not that far from there. But
no.
It's, I think you have Virginia Tech fans there. It's just going to be.
Yeah.
I think State is going to win this game. I think they can. And I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be kind of close. I think maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 point kind of thing. I expect the line to be more like 2 to 3 points, but in State's favor is what I think. But
no, I do think it'll be close. 5 or 6 point game.
Okay,
but like I said, all comes down to terquavion. I think really.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back so I can find any of their stats to kind of go along with the discussion. But just to move on there, NC State we got beating Virginia Tech on Wednesday night, and I think that would mean we were playing Clemson.
Yeah.
And for me, we've had discussions within our Tuffy Talk here, and I'm on the fence of I do not like this matchup for State because we've not played many teams twice this season, and we've basically split series for every team except Clemson. We lost on the road pretty close. I think it was like a 4-point kind of game, and
no, I don't even think it was that close. That was or late December before we really started hot January.
Yeah,
I think it was like an 11 or 12-point loss on the road.
I can't remember how much it was. I'm trying to see if I can find the schedule here. I can find Clemson here, but and then Clemson obviously blew us out at home senior day, which is. I don't know how that happens. But then again, Clemson was absolutely on fire. So I don't think Clemson's going to do that again. And I don't think State's going to shoot that bad again, personally.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm going to go back and look at that particular matchup. And State shot 41%, which actually isn't bad. But Clemson shot 59%.
Yeah.
And State shot 33% from 3, which is 8 for 24. But Clemson shot 10 for 19. Clemson was, obviously, you look at the field goal percentage, they were almost 20% better. And Free throws, they were better. State was actually, in my opinion, not good free throws. They were 13 for 20. And beyond that, it was pretty even matchup. It was just, they got up into as high as 30-point lead on NC State. So,
yeah.
They had this guy Brevin Galloway who went off on State, and I think State's going to make sure that doesn't happen again. But
yeah,
PJ Hall and Tyson, I think, let's see the stats what they had. They had Tyson had 12, Hall had 20, and Galloway had 28. Chase Hunter, which another guy on their team, had 15 that matchup. So really, that might have been. I think it's probably. I think it might be Clemson's best game they played all year.
And maybe our worst game.
Right. So,
at least defensively.
If you've got polar opposites there as far as defensively, their best offense versus our worst defense, one of our worst defenses games. How do you think this matchup's going to go, Michael? What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, we didn't have Jack Clark for that game because that was right after he took that fall against Wake. Right. So I do think that helps defensively getting him back.
He's probably guarding
putting him on
Tyson.
Yeah. Putting him on Tyson. Galloway's not going to have another 28-point game.
I think Morcell probably guards him, somebody like that.
Yeah. But it is a bad matchup for us. They do have, big physical guards.
Is Brevin Galloway their point guard?
I don't know exactly.
Look it up. He might be.
I don't think so. He may be, but I don't. You just have to play better defense. Clemson was hot, but they were also having a lot of open looks, and then just on the contested looks, they were just getting crazy bounces and rolls.
Yeah.
But,
so do you?
I don't know.
So yeah, I guess
it's hard to beat a team 3 times.
That's the positive side. So if those are honest, I didn't mention this, but like Greg was in our message, and he's taking the approach Michael's saying there. It's hard to beat a team 3 times, and if you do, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
Or they're just really that bad kind of thing. So,
but I think Jack Clark playing and guarding Tyson will be a big advantage, not necessarily just on him, but just on the way our defense moves and him being able to stretch the floor on offense because they weren't really respecting Ross or Gant on the perimeter.
Yeah,
which fair.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I would pick us to win this game, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm actually leaning.
To your,
go ahead. You finish it out.
To your point earlier, I think I would have rather liked to play Virginia again because it would have been an opportunity for. I think we match up better, even though we probably played pretty bad there too. I think we match up better, but it would have been an opportunity for a really good win, and the loss wouldn't be as bad. And losing to Clemson for a 3rd time, that would just optically that doesn't look good, especially when we're
a team that's
fighting for a spot.
Yeah, and they're on the outside looking in, and we're on the inside.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on the negative side. I kind of think State's going to lose this game. I think you're going to have Burns versus Hall. Burns outplayed Hall, but it was a very evenly matched game last time around. I think it's going to be big having Clark back to guard a guy like Tyson. I just don't like that. I feel like we're talking about matchups, and I don't like it. So you think it's going to win? They're going to win, and I kind of think they're going to lose. Let's say, since it's an NC State podcast, let's at least say State wins this game. Okay, let's just say State wins.
Sure.
Because then let's see because we're going to just keep going and see who they would match up well against.
Yeah, sure.
So then let's say, based upon our prediction that we had to episode 1, it would be Virginia playing UNC. Virginia beats UNC. And then you've got NC State versus Virginia. And you said earlier you liked that matchup better, even though we didn't play so well in Charlottesville. But State generally has a history of playing very well against Virginia, under Kevin Keatts, I would say. And if State can get to Virginia, I like NC State winning that game personally. And I think, kind of dipping back into the NC State Clemson game, I think State got embarrassed on senior night against Clemson.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then they did, and I think it's an opportunity for them to be like obviously them shooting like that is a fluke. Getting it right, they can. I personally don't think it's going to happen, but we're going to go with the discussion that State does win that game. I think that's a motivator. I think just like, hey, senior day didn't go out well. We're going to play the same team, and we're going to go out there. We're going to kick their butt. And but going to Virginia, State got embarrassed at Virginia. And it's a top 10 team on the road. Some of his words embarrassed, but you got beat. Yeah. And you were down as big as one point. The score was 40-20 Virginia. That was a few weeks ago, and I think was it a month or so ago? I think it was at this point.
At this point.
So I'm going to look at that Jarkel Joyner versus Kihei Clark. Jarkel Joyner cannot get outplayed like he did last time, and I don't think Kihei Clark had a great stat line. But Jarkel, with that speed, we saw him play against Wake Forest, Tyree Appleby, just balling. And I feel like State's going to have a different approach to how they get DJ going offensively because Virginia's going to want to trap him like they did.
Yep.
And that smothered DJ. He had no idea how to handle that and what to do. State's got a different game plan.
Yeah.
But do you like State in that matchup against Virginia? Hypothetically speaking, they get there to a semifinal game.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
Yeah, I do. I like it better than matching up against UNC if they were to beat Virginia in the semifinals or in the quarterfinals.
Wouldn't that be something? State playing UNC to go see who goes to a championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I feel like the first matchup with DJ Burns, especially, I don't know if they prepared the correct way. I think because Burns has had success beating double teams. He did it against Wake, against some other teams, finding the open man. Yep. But Virginia is just so much more disciplined defensively that I don't think they prepared the right way they just said, okay, we'll just play the same way, throw it into Burns. If he gets double teams, he'll find the open man. But I don't think that, obviously it didn't work. So I'm hoping they have a different approach on how to use Burns if you play Virginia. Because, again, they're really good defensively. They were picking off those passes. So that's the only part I don't really like against Virginia. But that's one position. I kind of like us across the board at the other matchups, at the guards, on the wing with Jack Clark. I like that matchup against Virginia.
I know that was one night that when State played Virginia, I know their assistant coach, or at least one of their assistant coaches wasn't there. Joel Justice just had a baby. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know if another assistant coach was not there either. I don't know about that, but I think it's be different. And I think so. Do you think you're saying, just to be clear, you think State is going to win this game?
Yeah. Well, I think they can.
Bro, I get it. I mean, it's a really tough matchup, man. I don't think they're going to. I think Clemson's going to beat State personally, but
yeah. I'll say we win a rematch in Greensboro.
Okay.
I'll say.
Yeah, I'll say that. I think it'd be good. So then, I mean, I know it's our podcast. We can do what we want to, right?
Yeah.
So then let's say, okay, now State is playing at the championship
State
game.
Miami.
Playing State into Miami.
It's not out of the question. State's shown they can play with anybody.
I think State's going to be a dark horse pick for some media people because State has Jarkel Joyner, terquavion Smith, and DJ Burns. And if you want to, put some sugar on top, it's Casey more so. And I think State's a team that people are going to look at, and there's going to be some people who will pick them to be make a run. I don't think the majority. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen, but I think people are going to look at State and be like,
I mean, when you get all three of them, specifically Smith, Joyner, and Burns, playing well. Yeah, I know it's a big if, but we've seen it. They've done it multiple games this year. When you get all three of them playing well, we're a tough team to beat.
And I had this conversation with my dad, State played to their best potential yet in any game?
No.
And no, I do not think they
so.
have. I think Clemson's had that game
Maybe
already, right? They played it against NC State.
I will say we haven't done it against good competition. I think Florida State and Boston College were probably two of our best games all season, but against good competition, no.
Right. I mean, I think it can happen. I think, to me, when I think about guys like Ernest Ross and Ibi Duwana, like, I do not understand. I don't know. Those guys just look. I don't know what those guys are doing out there in the field court sometimes. They just seem so lost. Yeah. And I'm like, you got a whole season, and you don't seem like you even figured out what you're supposed to be doing. And you made a comment, how can Ibi Duwana be that bad a rebounder? So,
for being that tall, I don't know. He's got. I'm not. No offense to the guy, but his hands, for being that tall, he just needs some sticky stuff on his hands.
But it looks like Ernest and Ibi, particularly Ernest, like he's just running around the court all the time. Like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
I feel like Ernest is best, in my opinion, at cleaning up the glass. That's when he's best. And but that's just there's a totally separate discussion. So we got in this hypothetical matchup here at Tuffy Talk, we got NC State in the championship game against Miami on the NC State portion of this. So what do you think there? I feel like that's where it's over.
I probably if Miami's playing well enough to get the championship game, obviously we'll be playing well enough to get to the championship game in this scenario. I probably still would lean Miami.
Yeah, I would too.
Just because we played well against them in Miami, but kind of choked that game away, and the game at home took overtime to beat them.
We have scores, but they have scores too. It's not like it's in this other situation, I feel like State has more scoring weapons than Clemson and Virginia, especially Virginia. And then you go to Miami, and it's like, okay, then you don't have that advantage in my opinion anymore. So maybe in the post,
two guards.
Maybe in the post, that's it.
Yeah.
So
they've got it matches up like their guards Wong and Pack are just as good as Joyner and Smith when they're playing well.
Yeah. Again,
Norchad
O'Meara to me is just a really good player and a transfer portal guy, right? So just like Pack.
Yeah. And what's his face, Jordan Miller at their 4. He's very similar to Jack Clark. He can stretch the floor there.
Yep. I guess for our preview then we've got Miami winning the whole thing, and
hard to pick against them.
They're really
right
good.
Now,
they're really good guys. I mean, they've earned it. So then let's talk about a little bit of breakdown. So let's say, obviously, if State, I think, so this whole conversation, I don't even want to have the conversation about the bubble thing anymore because I don't even think it's legit. I think if unless State loses the game, I think then you'd be on the bubble, and I think you would still be on the right side of the bubble. But clear to that because Virginia Tech's a net 70 team, right? And so,
right around.
But let's say State makes this run we're talking about. Let's say they beat Virginia Tech, Clemson, Virginia. Where do you think that puts them in the tournament? NCAA tournament.
So that would be.
I think it's a 9
Virginia.
seed.
That would be.
I think
that would be probably a high 9 seed.
But I hate that. I hate that.
I know. I'd rather stay at 10
So
seed.
what do you gain by being an 8 or 9 seed? Like, I just don't. Give me the 10 seed. Give it to me. I would rather play
supposedly a easier matchup because the way they seed them, but there's not a huge difference between a team that's a 7 seed and a team that's
Would you
an 8
rather
or a 9
play?
seed.
Would you like to play one of Kansas, Alabama, UCLA, or Houston? I don't know. I haven't really watched UCLA this year, but let's say Kansas, Alabama, or Houston. Or would you rather have a shot? Go ahead.
And all those teams, they're the 1 seed, so they get put in their region.
Yep.
Like that's like you would have to play Kansas in I think Oklahoma City. You'd have to play Alabama in Birmingham, Alabama. So
Alabama's
basically
in
would be a road
case,
game.
Alabama is in Louisville. Houston would be in New York. That doesn't make any sense. And UCLA is in Vegas. That's a really sucky home court advantage if Houston got New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I just don't get that. That's weird.
It's tough. But for the most part, if you have to play 1 seed, it's usually in their region where it would basically be, you would definitely be at a disadvantage fan-wise and travel-wise, and besides the fact that those teams are really good.
So right now, like I'm looking here, State on Joe Lunardi's bracket has a 10 seed. He has us playing Texas A&M, who did just beat Alabama, just for reference, and that is a Buzz Williams-led Texas A&M team who used to be the coach of Virginia Tech. And then you'd play the winner of probably the Baylor versus whoever Baylor gets a draw for. And right now they got a arbitrarily placed Kennesaw State. So 2 seeds have lost to 15 seeds in the past. And those 15 seeds are probably those smaller league teams that won their championships, right? Like Campbell, I think right now did Campbell win their Big South?
No, they were winning the whole game, and UNC Asheville came back.
So UNC Asheville is going to be playing for representing the Big South.
They'll probably be a 15 seed.
Yeah, like, those kind of seeds can beat those teams, but like, would you rather play Kansas, Alabama, or Houston, or would you rather have a shot? I mean, it's not that much better, but like Purdue, Texas, Baylor, or Arizona.
Yeah,
I would feel better about that than I would be playing Houston,
Absolutely.
Alabama, or Kansas right now. So,
I think, we're slotted in as a 10, high 10, low 11. You make now if we win the ACC championship in this perfect hypothetical NC State world, I think we
still get the
might bump up to a 7 seed.
But you're still in the same spot. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but in that case, you're playing the 10 seed now. You're not the 10 seed. So I think NC State is better than the average 10 seed. We just haven't played like it. So
that's true too. Yeah.
I would rather be the 7 in a 7-10. But I would also rather be a 10 than an 8 or 9.
But I will tell you, a 10 seed right now, one of those teams, is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's
that's
higher
true.
seed than NC State is right now. So, at least in the ACC they are. And then you've got other teams, Auburn and Rutgers. Auburn's not had as good a season as they had in the past, but I think State's probably going to end up a 10 seed, and I think that's okay. I think it's okay. I don't want to. I would rather win an AC championship, but it's like I don't know what you gain by being an 8 or 9 seed. I just don't. So, anyways,
I mean, besides not letting the committee decide your fate, I guess, right? Yeah. If you win 3 games to get to the championship game, you're at least safe from letting the committee make a terrible call.
Yeah. So I guess there you have it, guys. That was our preview for NC State's ACC tournament bracket. They've got a matchup with whoever's going to win the Virginia Tech versus Notre Dame game, and State can make a run. They have the talent and pieces there. I think some media folks will see State making a little bit of a run. Not many, but I think there's some people are going to probably mention State in that regard. It's a team who could upset some teams. I just don't personally know if that's what's going to happen or not. I think that playing Clemson, who has swept NC State, and playing Virginia, who really suffocated NC State. I don't like that for NC State. I think State can win those games. I actually like Virginia better than Clemson for State, but that's just me.
It is what it is.
It's going to be fun, though. The State's going to have their first game Wednesday night, 9:30. It's going to be a late game. It's going to be on ESPN2 versus or ESPNU, whichever one I guess gets the nod there. And again, you'll see me and Leighton at the game. If you or maybe you won't see us there. We're going to be there at the game, and it's going to be a really fun AC tournament, guys. So be sure to like and subscribe to Tuffy Talk, and you can find us on Twitter, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those things. And be sure to share with other NC State fans. We can build this NC State community here at Tuffy Talk, and really appreciate you guys taking the time to check out this episode. We're previewing the tournament for NC State. So hope you all have a great rest of your week, and as always, go Pack.